Disclaimer, this video is a disjointed mess. I tried something different, as I'm going to explain in my opening segment. I tried doing the video talking portions first before shooting. I'll never do it again. I put the shooting video in the can like 2 weeks ago, and I've been just trying to get this together as my mind changed on how to piece it together. So watch the video for what it's worth. I'm going to say things and reference things in the coming segments that, as it turns out, aren't going to appear or not make any sense in the context that I do it in, but I'll put a bow on it at the end after what I thought was my ending segment. So here's the final thing. Blue shirt guy is the one that's actually giving you accurate information. Red Santa Claus shirt guy thought he was giving you accurate information, and you're not going to see ratty green t-shirt guy that I reference, because I cut all that stuff out. It just became too long and ranty. See you again on the back end of this video. Ho, 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 look who's back. And in a different room of the house. And it's actually a little echoey, but I'm going to run with it because you'll see in a minute. This is actually my second, this is my second version of this part 2 video. The first version, I wound up having to leave a lot of it on a cutting room floor because I tried to go Quentin Tarantino on you again and actually film things out of sequence. Usually, I don't know if you've noticed, some of you maybe like that about my videos. I'm sure a lot of you, make fun of it, is that I don't really have a lot of editing, or at least the desire to spend days editing videos. So what I try to do is I put on the camera and I'll just start talking. I'll talk off the top of my head with a couple of bullet points, but I'll talk off the top of my head, and then I'll cut that video up and make it into a presentation for you. Usually I do my shooting first, and then I'll talk around the shooting, so that's what makes sense to me. In this video, I attempted to film my video segments first, thinking that nothing would change, and then I do my shooting and I break up the shooting segments around that. But things happen where it just doesn't jibe anymore. So in the parts of this video where right now I'm going to be wearing a Santa shirt for most of it, but if there are other cuts away where you see me wearing a ratty green t-shirt, and I even make a joke about the ratty green t-shirt, that's what it was. We kind of filmed on different days. The reason being, the biggest reason being, is that this was originally going to be, the theme of it was going to be the 365, my 365 with the gold barrel, versus, or at least compared to, my wife's stock P365. So I have the flat trigger, she has the stock curved trigger, I have the gold barrel, she has stock barrel. I expect that to make no difference. Mostly it was going to be differences between the triggers and what a stock one is against what the pimped out one was. And I was actually going to go to the range and redo the nightstand test, because remember how much faster I was with the flat trigger? I wanted to see if it was the flat trigger or just practice. I was going to do that. But then I got to the range, and it was my first time at this range, and how they set it up was a little bit different, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do a lot of things I was going to do. But the real kicker was that I forgot to bring basic silhouette targets, and I can't do a nightstand test with basic silhouette targets. So this is going to have to come at a comparison to the stock one on another day. So such is life, and it really is totally stock. She opted for the safety, as you see. I'm not a manual safety type of guy. You saw my issues that I had with the safety with the 1911 on my nightstand test. We didn't train that way. We in the NYPD, we had guns that were always ready to go, whether it's revolvers, whether it's semi-autos. They could fire with the magazine out. They would, if you could ever get it out of that super retention holster that's designed to kill you, if you could ever get it out holster, it's ready to fire. So it's a lot of decades of me training without manual safeties, to the point where I think a safety for me is a detriment. If you guys like safeties, you like safeties. I'm not bad mouthing it. She likes manual safeties, and it's probably a good idea. But I'm getting off topic. As you saw with this, the gold barrel's in, which means there was a successful range session, which we're going to cut to soon enough. Looks good, nice and pimped out. It worked. I don't want to shoot you all through the camera. I make the gun safe and clear, unlike the gun they handed Alec Baldwin. So yeah, the barrel worked out good. We're gonna cut some shooting really soon, and you'll see how it worked out. I really did do rudimentary shooting without my basic silhouette targets. And being unfamiliar with the range and the distances that they offered, I wasn't sure exactly what I could do. What I just basically went for in the course of fire, you're going to see is I put the targets out further than I generally want to shoot for self-defense, 25 yards. I've talked about the 25-yard shooting, how I think it's necessary training for a uniformed police officer, not as necessary for a civilian, because if your assailant is 25 yards away, that means he's 75 feet away. Some overzealous or just regular prosecutor at this point is going to make an argument that at 75 feet away, you had an obligation to run as opposed to defend yourself. You know, and we're going to talk about obviously where I'm leading with this. I cut another segment about that. But for this purposes, I wanted to see if there was any appreciable loss of accuracy. Now, by loss of accuracy, I meant that if with this black barrel, I was making a $50 size group on the paper, on the paper, and then with this gold barrel, I'm making a $50 size group on the paper, but that $50 size group is up here now instead of over here. Well, that's a good group, but it negatively affected accuracy. I want the rounds to go somewhat where I want it to go. So my original plan when I went there was to shoot very slow, very carefully, very slow, to try and be as accurate as I could. I think you've seen from my videos, for some reason I just don't shoot slow. I think I'm going to start shooting slow, and then I go right back into trying to acquire my sights and fire quickly. So at 25 yards on these shoot and sees, we had groups that were good enough for the speed I was firing at. And I think you'll see that accuracy was about, I'm giving you spoilers, accuracy was not adversely affected, obviously, since I'm carrying it. Although I did do one sequence where I really fired slowly and just to make sure I could actually hit the fucking paper. So without further ado, because I have a lot of commentary towards the end of this, let's get to the shooting sequences. This first sequence is going to be I think I put 2 magazines through with the black barrel. And I do 2 magazines and I reveal a target. Let's take a look. And you see, pretty straightforward, and it gave me the performance that this SIG has been giving me since day one. I think this is the target. Pull to the left a little bit, but 2 magazines at 25 yards at the pace I was shooting at. I'll always take that. Imagine this was a basic silhouette from 75 feet away, right? Fuck you, Mr. Bad Guy. So I'll take it. So my next trick was to, my next step was to obviously compare that to the gold barrel. So let's see how that turned out. And you saw on that one, did it get a little sloppier? Yeah, maybe it got a little sloppier, but I think I shot a little faster too. And unfortunately, this really is a half-ass production. I forgot, I was going to say both of those targets at least to show you. This is the one, but you see I put pasties up. I put the things to reuse it. So again, these two down here, you saw I dropped a few. Those have I put the stickies back on them because I reused this target for something else. But again, from 75 yards, fuck you, bad guy. I'll take that group at 75 yards, at 25 yards, 75 feet. I'll take that group. So, no real appreciable difference that I saw with the barrel. So this was going to be okay. But because I was getting a little sloppy, and I fired a lot of rounds in between that, because between testing for accuracy, I was also testing for function. And I fired a lot of rounds at the range that day, a lot of rounds. And I'm going to show you some of those in a montage, because you really need to see me swapping out magazine and putting rounds down range to test for function. But I fired a lot of rounds. But I wanted to see if how accurate I really am. So on this drill, I put the target at a 25. I took one shot, brought it into the 20, took the next shot, brought it into the 15, took the next shot, and brought it into the 10, took the fourth shot. Just 4 shots, slow, just to see how accurate I could be. Let's take a look. And again, that led to one of the most frustrating part of my day at the range. One, I forgot to bring that target home with me. I brought home all this crap of random function tests that I was doing. Why you would want to see that, I don't know. But I forgot to bring that one with 4 holes in it home with me to show you. But maybe I'll freeze that frame somewhere and show it again if I feel like doing it. What was frustrating about it, besides the fact I left the target there, was you saw that those 4 shots. I had 3, 1, 2, 3, literally within a $half size, and 1 flyer. That fucking 1 flyer was at the 15-yard line. The 25-yard line and the 20-yard line ones were this close together. And I dropped that one at 15. I'm surprised I didn't make a face after I shot and I saw it. And then 10 yards, I brought it right back up. So I'm going to call that very good accuracy. I put them right where I wanted to. I'm looking at the target off screen now. I will have to capture that thing anyway if anyone wants to, Again, how could you disprove me? You weren't there. You know what I mean? I could have had that target 3 feet away for all you know. I'm telling you, why bother lying? Those 2 shots, the ones in the inside the 10 ring there, were from 25 and 20 yards, and I got sloppy as I got closer. Because again, I'm like a little bunny rabbit on cocaine. I lose focus, I guess. So accuracy is looking good to me. And then with that out of the way, I just ran into, let's see if I can make the gun fail. Because remember, what sold me on this gun so much is just how reliable it's been. With this range session, I'm well over 2,000 rounds with this gun. I don't know what, but I'm well over 2,000 rounds. And it has yet to have its first malfunction of any kind. It hasn't even fell on a dead primer yet. It has not malfunctioned yet. Every time I pulled the trigger, it went bang, the empty case extracted, and it loaded a live round. Every single time until the magazine was empty for well over 2,000 rounds now. I don't recall owning a gun except maybe, look at that, high production values. Except maybe old Trusty here, my Gen 2 Glock 19, that was my service pistol, who had that kind of record of reliability. Probably this didn't have a failure for the first 5,000 rounds. I'm very impressed with this gun for that reason. It shoots bigger than it is, it's accurate, and it has yet to malfunction on me. So here I am trying to make it malfunction with my pimped out gold barrel. Take a look. And yes, I sped up the frame rate. I'm not going to make you sit through 140 rounds. Suffice to say that the gun has proven itself to be accurate. And by the way, because you all voted Democrat and everything's a shortage now, I wasn't going to blow through. Usually I always take what I train with what I use. I'm not going to blow off 300, 400 rounds of Spear Gold Dot right now. So I had my old bucket of Blazer brass here, 9mm. I was using 115 grain full metal jackets for my testing, and I used quite a bit that day. So, what are our takeaways here? Well, here's our takeaway. Accurate, reliable, and pimped out. I like it. I'm going to carry it this way. Now, with that said, lubrosity be damned. What do we got here? Wah, wah. It wasn't the barrel that had the tolerance issues. It was apparently my slide. Now, what I was never going to do was go in here and remove material just to avoid some scuff marks, because remember, it didn't fail with this barrel either. It was dead on accurate, sweet shooter, and it cycled reliably every single time. I'm going to assume that it's going to do the exact same thing with this barrel with the same goddamn wear mark. But I was right in that it's less noticeable. You know, the gold to the silver is less noticeable than the black to the silver. So, although I'm slightly disappointed by that, I just cannot ignore the fact that the gun has proven itself to be 100% reliable, and I couldn't be happier with it. Now, what a lot of you are probably asking is, okay, that's all fine and good, but what did you gain from doing this? Well, absolutely nothing. I just like shiny things. That I feel like I have a new gun now. I can't afford to buy another gun right now, so this feels like I just got a new gun. It's pimped out, looks good, and you know, why not? I'm losing nothing by it, and it gives a little spice to a gun I was getting accustomed to. Also, it adds a little personal factor to it. Now, granted, I made 2 changes to this that any of you could do, and we could all be carrying the same goddamn gun. But it is different from the stock one now. You know, this identifies it as kind of my gun, to put a personalized a taste on our gun. And that's always something I like to do. If you remember this bad boy here, this was my service revolver from my days in the NYPD. We all got them. They all look somewhat the same. You know, there were Rugers and there were Smiths. The Rugers came in 3-inch and 4-inch barrels, the Speed 6 and the Police Service 6. The Smith came in a 4-inch and 3-inch barrel. The 3-inch had the round butt. The 4-inch at the time had the square butt. And what did we all do as soon as we got them? We all put different grips on them. We took the stupid stock wood grips off, and we put the Pacmars on, various forms of the rubber grips and different badges on them. And me, I got my Smith & Wesson combat grips off of out of a gun shop, because that predates the internet. And, you know, this was mine. This was in my holster. It looked like my gun. We could put all the guns on a table, and I could pick out my gun. And other guys had different things to their guns. That all changed when we went to these. There's literally nothing you could do to these things. They didn't let you do anything to them. If you put that wraparound grip on them, they made you take it off at qualifying. There was no personalization to these guns. They all looked alike. And although we all appreciate having high-capacity semi-autos, you kind of missed this thing. You know, it was kind of a different feel to it when you could pick your gun out of a crowd. I'll give you a quick story. This happened at Bronx Central Booking, and what you would do is you would come in there to lodge your prisoners, you know, and you put your prisoner in a cell, and then the next thing you do is you'd probably give your partner your gun. But in any case, you made your way over to the gun lockers, which are just basically stand-up lockers for a padlock. You put your gun into a locker. They didn't want live guns walking around Central Booking, for pretty obvious reasons. You know, you don't want these things getting snatched. These buildings were anyone who wasn't on a job, trust me, these buildings where they house prisoners, I guess they originally built to be like grade schools or something, because they were so not up to the task of housing criminals that it was amazing. They would just be, you'd be on top of each other. Excuse me, the guy's handcuffed to a fucking wall and you got to push your way past them just to get a pen, So they didn't want live guns floating around. And what would happen was, after you lodged your prisoner and did your thing and so on and so forth, you went to your gun locker. Oh, by the way, the gun lockers, they didn't have locks, and you're not going to carry a lock with you. You ran your handcuffs through the loop, And as we all know, handcuffs is one universal key for most handcuffs out there. You ran your handcuffs through. Remember what lock you put your gun in, and that was that. Put my gun in my locker, in the locker like I did a million times before. Go after that, grab the locker, take my gun out, put it in my holster. Driving away. Get a few blocks away, you feel thinking like, something. Although they look exactly alike, because each one is worn differently and has different exposures and was issued at different times, they have different wear points. And strange as it may seem, a lot of you guys who wear guns exposed probably agree with me on this. You know how your gun wears. You know, even on here, you know your wear points. You know what's, especially right-handed. This is always hitting on the car door. It's always hitting on the seatbelt thing as you're getting it out, and you get scuff marks. You get parts that are worn smooth, and after you always have it on you, you realize it. I'm getting a comment like, something. This gun feels very edgy. Mine was one of the first ones, issued, and all my shit was worn down, but the plastic was kind of worn down. I'm like, this gun feels edgy. And I pull it out and I look at it because we all have to memorize our serial numbers because they all fucking look alike. And sure enough, I had someone else's gun. It happens all the time. Am I worried about grabbing someone else's gun now? No. But it's that personalization factor that I carried this gun on duty for 26 years. And there was no way to tell it apart. I mean, as different generations came out, I became one of the few guys without finger grooves. Generation 3 had the finger grooves. Even 4, Generation 4 too, right? Had the finger grooves? Yeah, I have a Gen 4, I should know. So this became kind of unique in that it was an old Gen 2. But other than that, there's nothing you could really do to them. I like having a little flair to my pistols. And, as long as it functions flawlessly, which it does, now this is what I got. Now I got to find a way that I could carry this kind of with my bling showing to make it, to really impress the girls, I guess, right? So that is my review on the SIG Genuine Parts Gold Barrel. It's not going to make a difference if you have this type of issue going on with your gun, but the good news is it's going to work. It's not going to change the function of your gun, at least it didn't change the function of mine. And you know what? It's kind of shiny, it's kind of cool, and look at that. Not bad, right? All right. That's the shooting portion. Now I'm going to do, I think I'm going to save the original segment. I promised a little product review of that Alien Gear holster. I think I'm going to cut to that now. And after that product review, we're going to do some current events. I promised some current events, some of the things going on in the world. I had shot these things prior. I'm probably going to keep the ones, I'm probably going to redo the one on COVID because some things have happened in a couple of days since I made that segment. So if you see me wearing a ratty green t-shirt for the rest of the video, you know it's the original. If you see me dressed up like Santa, you know it's the parts that I reshot. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll probably say another goodbye after the other segments. Okay, now that you saw all that, hope you enjoyed it. This is the segment where I was going to talk about current events and I was going to do my review of the Alien Gear shoulder holster. I didn't like how that review came out, so I'm going to redo it and give this thing a few more chances. Not that it's a bad holster, but you'll see when I actually do a review what my bitches about it are. And besides, that ratty green t-shirt I was wearing was awful. It had holes in it and shit. I don't know what I was thinking of. So more to come on this. The other thing when I said current events, I'm going to do the real quick version of it, okay? A couple of things that were going on. I mentioned in the lead into this video, the part one of this pimped out gold barrel thing, which I'm still carrying, still looks good, that I had COVID. I had COVID, made me super sick. I don't know what's going on in the free states in this country, but in socialist New York, they're trying their best to throw unvaccinated people into gulags. I got vaccinated. I chose to get vaccinated. For the reason the reason I did was that COVID made me really sick. And although I thought my own antibodies will protect me after having it, and so far they have, I wanted to give myself every advantage. So I chose to get vaccinated. Vaccines are a good thing. I think that over the course of human history, vaccines have helped way more than they have hurt. And that's all I'll say on vaccines. One thing, my biggest issue with what's going on in New York is the fact that I don't think government should make you get vaccinated. And what's about to happen the day after or 2 days after Christmas is that if you're not vaccinated in New York, you can't work in New York City. You're going to lose your job. Amazingly enough, and we're letting this happen in this city. They've injected enough fear that they're letting it happen, and people think this is a good idea. But then again, this is the state where what the last two Democratic governors. Let me shut off my goddamn phone because whenever I make a video, this happens. The last two Democratic governors were elected, couldn't even finish out their terms. I think Spitzer never even got to serve a day because he kept taking dick pics, and Andrew Cuomo couldn't finish out his term because I guess similar. He kept showing his dick to people, right? So instead our last two governorships ended being finished out by the lieutenant governor who nobody voted for. Nobody voted for that idiot that replaced Elliot Spitzer, and certainly no one voted for Catherine Hochul, whatever the fuck her name is, who's our governor now by default. Yet she's walking around reinstituting mask mandates and making it so that people can lose their jobs if not vaccinated. And again, you could say, hey, well, it's not my dance. I'm vaccinated. I chose to get vaccinated for my own reasons. I just think this is a very dangerous situation. Like they say on the meme, you can vote your way into socialism, but you got to shoot your way out. We're on dangerous ground. Remember this on the midterm elections. That's the end of that. The other current events I was going to reference was the Alec Baldwin shooting, but that's been done to death. The only thing is, I'll give you my real quick and skinny on it. I don't know the circumstances. I wasn't there. From what I'm hearing is that the producer or someone on the set, someone in charge of making sure the firearms are safe, handed him a gun and said it was cold. Okay? Whether he handled it safely after that, whether he should have been pointed off to the side like actors supposedly do or not, I don't know. I will say that as an actor who's untrained in firearms, they are the only people on this planet in that situation, in the set of circumstances, where they are not the ones that are 100% responsible to know the state of load of their gun. They're really not. We're responsible for this at all times. If me and my friends are talking guns and handing guns around, this guy, and this is loaded, but for my purposes, safe is up. Someone could take a gun like this, rack it, check the chambers, say, hey, check this gun out. When I get it, when I take it from him, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to open the action myself and check it myself, okay? Because I know guns. We know guns. We're watching these channels. We know guns, right? Actors don't know guns. Although they make it a point to campaign against them and say how evil they are while they simultaneously make millions of dollars in movies that promote guns, they really don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So that's why they're supposed to have professionals on the set. This is my opinion. If Alec Baldwin, who's a professional douchebag, if Alec Baldwin was handed a gun by a professional that was on the set, whose job it is to make sure that this gun is safe because he's dealing with actors who don't know dick about guns, if he was handed that gun and said it was safe, and it actually had a fucking live round in it, he's mostly off the hook. Now, the lies he's been telling since and the spin he's been putting on it since, well, of course, he's a professional dick. I think, the irony isn't lost on me that a privileged Hollywood douchebag, elitist douchebag, who's been so anti-gun, so vocally anti-gun, winds up killing somebody with a gun. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm not going to say it's funny because fucking somebody died. It's not lost on me. I understand people don't like him. I don't like him. He's a douche. But in this particular scenario, if that happened the way it happened, culpability-wise, I think he's going to be off the hook. That's Alec Baldwin. The other thing that happened was a Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, which again, by the time I'm getting this together, it's all old news. Look, it's not like I sat there cheering when he was found innocent. I don't think he was guilty. But it's not like people treating like, oh my God, Jesus just woke up again. I mean, look, again, wasn't my dance. I think it's a victory for armed American citizens to say that, yes, you can defend yourself with a firearm. I think, there goes the dog. Leo, I swear to God, I can't catch a break with this video. Hold on. And we're back. See, the dog with the mouth. Well, I think it's a victory for armed American citizens out there. And I think the sticking point for a lot of people, and I'm not talking about the left-wing media, I'm not talking about celebrities who don't know dick about dick. I think the sticking point for a lot of middle Americans, centrist Americans, Americans who the ones that are left that still have a free thought in their head, was that is it self-defense if you choose to put yourself in a situation where you have to defend yourself? If you choose to put yourself in the center of a riot and then use a gun to defend yourself, well, does that really qualify you to enjoy the protections of defending yourself? Well, obviously, the answer to that was in Wisconsin case law. And I guess Wisconsin case law said that, yes, you absolutely, you always have the right to defend yourself, even if you put yourself in a situation where you would have to defend yourself. And you know what? I didn't read Wisconsin case law. In 28 years in the NYPD, I read enough New York case law to last me a lifetime. I'm going to leave it at that. The judge, I'm sure, charged the jury properly. The jury looked at applicable case law, heard the testimony, which I did not, and they decided that, yes, this was a self-defense case. So, you know what? Good for him. As far as, what the media was saying about him, any defamation lawsuits, I don't know. I don't watch the news. Watching mainstream news, especially in New York, makes my hemorrhoids throb. That's why I don't do it. The kid got off. He didn't get himself killed. And let's face it, the 3 guys he shot, by all accounts, were scumbags, right? So that's current events. I ran through it. In the original versions of this video, I was talking for like 20 minutes, and I hate it when this channel starts to become a political rant. That's not what I'm looking to do, and it's not what I'm looking to do now. I want to get back to the shooting on that, so that's what I'm going to do. So this is the real wrap up. If all goes right, this is being released a couple of days before Christmas, so although I'm not wearing my Santa shirt anymore, happy, healthy, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year, because I'm sure as fuck not going to get another video out there before the new year. But I do intend to remember to bring my basic silhouettes next time, and I'll do the pimped out gold barrel flat trigger 365 against my wife's flat stock P365, and I'll reshoot this Alien Gear shoulder holster thing, because this is what I like to wear, for my job, dress like I dress on my job. You can conceal this in a suit, and it's comfortable for the most part, but it has some sticking points to it. Maybe I'll do a much more in-depth version of that at the range, and maybe depending on how lax this range is, maybe they'll let me work from a shoulder holster. Maybe we can kind of see it in action together. And next video, I'll do mailbag, because I keep getting responses. Again, I try and respond to them all, but they just get away from me because I don't do this professionally. I don't have a Patreon account. Gun companies don't send me shit, and I got to work a full-time job because I got bills to pay. So next video, we'll have hopefully a comparo, another product review, and I'll get to the mail, answering your mail personally, because I do appreciate every comment I get. Until then, thanks for views, and see you in 2022. Hopefully it's not a shit show.